Donald.
Please welcome your Commander-in-Chief, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump.
All right, let's see what he says. This might just be some bullshit, by the way. We'll watch the first 5 minutes, but then I'm going to probably move past it if he's talking about some other stuff. Because this probably could just be a military thing in general. He's announcing his third term. He should announce his third term on the same day that he declares martial law. Just because that would be the most entertaining thing that could happen.
Wow. That's a beautiful sight, and it's a beautiful sight to be with you in a place called Fort Bragg. Can you believe they changed that name in the last administration for a little bit?
What did they?
But we'll forget all about that. Well, we're going to forget all about it. I want to just say God bless the U.S. Army and God bless the USA. Great place, great group. I want to thank so many incredible soldiers and paratroopers, pilots, warriors for
what did they call
awesome
Fort Bragg before
pure,
then?
Unrivaled American military might. I just saw something.
What were they trying to call it?
You don't want to mess.
Fort Liberty?
I've been saying a long time we have the best. Nobody even comes close, but they just gave me a display that you might be lucky not to see it, because it's a little scary.
I think this is some random ass shit.
Beautiful to watch. Let's hear it for the Army Special Operations and Command and the 82nd Airborne Division.
They called it Fort
and
LGBT?
the 18th Airborne Corps.
Is that true?
What a show it was, and what a show it continues to be. And Saturday is going to be a big day in Washington, D.C. You know, a lot of people said, we don't want to do that. I say, yeah, we do. We want to show off a little bit.
I think this is just him talking about the parade and everything. I will say that the intro for this definitely went hard as fuck. Like, this is definitely one of the better intros that he's done. Yeah, that's it. And so this is in California. Wait it out. Okay.
German right now.
All right. All right.
Maybe a little Japanese thrown in. But we won the war. And we don't celebrate, but we're going to celebrate on Saturday, and we're going to celebrate from now on. We're going to celebrate our greatness and our achievements. This week we honor 250 years of valor and glory and triumph by the greatest fighting force ever to walk the face of
I'll give
the
it
earth,
5 minutes.
the United
How about
States
that? 5
Army.
minutes.
For 2.5 centuries, our soldiers have marched into the raging fires of battle and obliterated America's enemies. There's never been anything like it. There's never been a force like this. And I rebuilt it. I gave you so much money for 4 years. It was crazy. And we just approved our largest budget for military operations, over $1 trillion. We've never even come close.
Damn, what the fuck? God damn.
But our army has smashed foreign empires, humbled kings, toppled tyrants, and hunted terrorist savages through the very gates of hell. Our soldiers do not rest until they win. You know that better than anybody. From June 1775 to June 2025, those foolish enough to challenge America's army have been met with unyielding strength, unbreakable spirit, and unstoppable, overwhelming force.
Thanks for 10 subs. Appreciate that.
Time and again, our enemies have learned that if you dare to threaten the American people, American soldier will chase you down, crush you, and cast you into oblivion. That's what happens, unfortunately. That's what happens. Doesn't sound very nice, but it's true, isn't it? The last sound you ever hear will be the dueling howl of Black Hawks in the dead of night, the thunderous boom of artillery fire, or the ferocious roar of a U.S. Army infantry brigade charging over the horizon. That brigade is going to charge like you've never seen before, and hopefully I can keep you out of that, but if I don't, you're ready. Is that right? If I can keep you out of it, if I keep you out of it, that's okay. But if we need it, you're ready. You know, it's called peace through strength, isn't it? Peace through strength.
That's a good way to look at it.
For our adversaries, there's no greater
Are we
fear
going to war?
than the United States
against
Army. They
California.
all fear us, and we have the greatest force anywhere on earth. You know, you read different stories that others are building.
Yeah, they're going to do
building
that
and building.
soon.
We have a force like no other. They said it would take 5 years to defeat ISIS. We did it in 4 weeks. 4 weeks. We let him go. Unlike other of your leaders, I let him go. And we had General Raisin Kane, who's now the head of the Joint Chiefs.
He loves saying that,
Staff,
doesn't he?
because I liked him. He was a warrior. He was a great warrior. And now he's been rewarded for his incredible work. But they said it would take 5 years. We did it in 4 weeks. Someday I'm going to ask him to explain that one to me. But it was the television generals that said that. The real generals got out and fought, and nobody fought like them ever. But for the American people, there's no greater pride because you are the righteous sword of American justice and the ultimate shield of American freedom. This week we remember that we only have a country because we first had an army. The army was first. In fact, the army was even before the country. You know that, right? 1 year before the country. After
well, that would make sense because that's how you got the country.
250 years, we still proudly declare that we are free because you are strong. You are so strong. We're safe because you are brave, and America's flag will never fall because America's army will never, ever fail. Never going to fail. Every branch of the armed forces has played a critical role in protecting our nation.
Bragg was changed to liberty to remove Confederacy in public spaces.
Winning than the U.S. Army. Nobody's done that. The Army has earned more combat medals and more battle ribbons than any other service, and 70% of all of the medals of honor. We give away medals of honor all the time at the White House to incredibly brave people, but you have 70% of them.
You go do the rocket story again?
Army soldiers, and especially our Army paratroopers, truly go all the way. You know that expression, all the way. It's one of your beautiful expressions. As President of the United States, let me express my undying gratitude to our nation for every soldier here today, for every veteran and their families, those incredible families that are with us and all across America, and for every patriot who has worn the uniform over 250 years. Can you imagine that?
No third base?
We thank you from the absolute bottom of our hearts.
Army terms 250 in 4 days.
Few places loom larger in Army lore than where we are gathered today. The one and only Fort Bragg. The one and only Fort Bragg.
All right. What the hell is he talking about?
But remember, it was only that little brief moment that it wasn't called Fort Bragg. It was by the Biden administration, not Trump. I had nothing to do with it. We got it changed.
Nobody knows. Yeah.
He said, you know, I came here numerous times, and everybody, they kept saying Fort Bragg, Fort Bragg. I said, you know,
he's bragging.
Name,
yeah.
Then I was making a speech.
He's off script
said,
again.
What do you think I should call
he already
place?
said this
Fort
shit.
Bragg. I said, Fort Bragg, how you doing? We won a lot of battles from this place,
Oh,
and
God.
that's the way it is. It wasn't even close. When Pete and some of the generals came to see me, I said, not even close. Not even close. This is the home of the Green Berets, the Sky Dragons, and the All-American 82nd Airborne. We know what 82nd Airborne Division. This is where the GIs who won the Second World War learned to pack their parachutes and push howitzers and go right into those C-47s with lots of arms and push them right out those big, beautiful doors and wield their bayonets and pry the enemy from the hedgerows of the French countryside. France needed us badly. We were there. A lot of people needed us badly. They still do, maybe worse than ever.
Jesus
it was here
Christ.
in the soil that the Army forged the metal that held strong at Bastogne. It was here the mighty paratroopers earned their wings before they rained down death from above to liberate Sicily, Normandy, and even the Netherlands. That's right. We saved the Netherlands.
What?
Every inch of this base is steeped in the legacy of those warriors who have said with pride, "Sir, I trained at Fort Bragg, sir." That was pretty cool. And that is why we restored the historic name of this very, very special place. I don't know if it could be the same place.
I feel like
Fort Bragg is in. That's the name. And Fort Bragg, it shall always remain. That's never going to be happening again.
Okay. I think you probably should look at some other stuff in a minute. We'll give a few more minutes.
And for a little news for the fake news back there.
Oh,
the
here we
fake
go.
News. Ladies and gentlemen, look at them. Look at them all. Oh, yeah, what I have to put up with. Fake news. What I have to put up with.
Oh,
But they're
jeez.
all right. They've been very nice today. They were impressed with that display, I can tell you that. I think it took them a little by surprise. But for a little breaking news, we are also going to be restoring the names to Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rucker, Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee.
Damn.
We won a lot of battles out of those forts. It's no time to change.
Man.
I'm superstitious, you know. I
That's
like
a
to
big
keep it
one?
going, right? I'm
That's
very
the big one.
superstitious. We want to keep it going. So that's a big story. We just
Oh, my
announced
God.
that today to you for the first time. They said, "Why didn't you wait till Saturday?" I said, "I
Mm-hmm.
can't wait. I got to talk to
What's
my
that?
friends
Robert E. Lee
here
was
today."
the
This is a
Confederate
record
general
crowd.
in the
You
Civil War.
You never had a crowd this big. That's an honor. You think this crowd would have showed up for Biden? I don't think so.
Who said Fortnite?
I don't think so. I don't
Yeah.
think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I want to thank so many great leaders here today, including Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who's been great. By the way, Pete, thank you. Great.
I don't think there's a whole lot going on with this. I think
And
he's
he
just
went
pretty
through
much
the
talking
wars,
about some
you know?
other stuff.
Pete went through the wars. He had a...
Yeah, there's. I think he's just gonna be talking about like other random shit, etc. Right? I mean, there's not really like this is just really about military stuff, etc.
These have to be paid troublemakers.
Mr. President, you used to say that the governor and the mayor paid them. Do you believe that the governor and the mayor paid the agitators?
No, I don't say the governor or the mayor. I said somebody's paying them, I think. And if they're not, they're just troublemakers. What can I tell you? But I believe somebody's paying them. I mean, I've never seen somebody with a big hammer so professional. Now, they took the bricks away from them. So they say, how do we get in? The military did. How do we get in, and what do we do? They said, I have an idea. Let's break up the concrete, and that's even better than bricks, and that's what happened.
Yeah, you just witnessed an amazing spectacle, a flex on our military. What impressed you the most?
I think the total love for the military. I mean, I was with the generals. They're explaining
This
the
is
different
live.
maneuvers. And the love they have for the Army and the military is beautiful. They're really great people. And I've never seen anything quite like that. I don't think any other president has either. You know, they really put on a good show. I asked them, did you do that for Biden? They said no. They didn't do it for Biden. I wonder why.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I know this. As long as we have the military there, the protests won't mean anything. Last night, if we weren't there, they would have burned down the city. But they did not a lot of damage other than they broke up a lot of concrete looking for weapons. You know, those are weapons. If that hits somebody in the head, the person's dead. You know that, right?
Are you planning?
Very heavy force will be met with the protest.
Oh, the military will be very heavy for us. I'm very proud to tell you that.
Oh, man.
They might as well turn around. They're wasting their time.
Man, that's crazy,
some of them
right?
will end up in jail for a
Damn.
long period of time. They use
about that?
weapons. That concrete is a weapon, a dangerous weapon. Worse than a brick, heavier than a brick. And they were dropping it off bridges and throwing it at soldiers and police.
Damn, that's nuts.
They're not doing that. You know, I went in my first term. I waited for governors to call in the military, and they didn't want to do it.
Tried to be nice.
And I watched Minneapolis and other places
Tried to be
burn
nice.
for a long time. And I said, when are you going to call? When are you going to call? And I said, if I ever do this again, if they're not responsive at the beginning, not at the end. You know, I called in the military in Minneapolis, but it was 7 days. I waited for this guy, the same guy that ran for vice president, who's a very dumb person. He's a low IQ individual, like many Democrats are. But I waited for him to call him in. I kept waiting. I'd call him every day and say, when are you calling him? And finally, I called them because I'm not going to wait. They were destroying the city. The whole city was burning down. Horrible. Okay.
A judge has set a hearing for Thursday from Governor Newsom's lawsuit. Do you think your administration will be successful Thursday for the hearing?
Well, even Senator Fetterman said very strongly that this is horrible what they're doing and that the Democrats are making a big mistake by not talking about it.
Yep.
And I agree with that. I think this is in a league with, and maybe even worse in a true sense, what they're doing is now worse than men playing in women's sports. I think that's a ridiculous thing. Open borders. You take a look at open borders. Open borders is what caused it. Many of these people, many of them, not all of them, I guess, but many of them came through the Joe Biden stupid open borders. Really sad to watch. It's very sad to watch this being our country. Now, with our National Guard and our, fairly low number of Marines, they had no chance. And if you look, they were a little bit tougher than the police. Did you notice that? The police are trained not to do it. They're really trained. They're under tremendous political constraint. They're great police. I know the police in L.A. I know the force. They're very good, but they're not allowed to do their thing. They're just not allowed. They're restricted by radical left politicians.
That's true.
Who are pretty shameful.
As Commander-in-Chief, sir, what rules of engagement do you want for the military? What limitations?
A very simple rule of engagement. If they're dangerous, if they're throwing concrete or bricks, if they're spitting in the face of the police or whoever's in front of them,
See, finally.
if they're punching people, if they're doing all of the things that you see done for the last 3 nights, that I would say is engagement. We need to keep our city straight. I want to save Los Angeles. And Newsom is totally incompetent.
Holy shit,
He's not gonna do
finally.
it. Look at the fires he had. He had
watches
fires where
your stream?
half the city, it seems,
It's
burned
obvious.
down. What was it, 25,000 houses?
It's too obvious.
All because he wouldn't take water. I released the water from the Pacific
he on that water
Northwest.
shit again.
And it came down millions of gallons a day. And it's right there right now. They'd like to send it back. There's something wrong with these people. All I want in terms of engagement, I just want to see peace. If there's peace, we get out. If there's even a chance of no peace, we stay there until there's peace. And a lot of people are being arrested. The rioters, or whatever you want to call them, they better know. A lot of people are being arrested. They're going to be in jail
they're going
for a long
on the
time.
bus.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Man.
All right, so President Trump speaking there with the media, traveling with him. He's on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews, talking about a whole host of topics. Apologize there, went right to color bars. Including, though, the anti-ICE demonstrations in Los Angeles.
Yeah, no, I mean, and they putting them on. They putting them in there, bro. Like they getting packed in like sardines on those buses, man. And they're gonna be out.